So it didn't look like much was going on still. So I am moving on. Just be more transformative. It didn't work, the protesting and things, ever. Has anybody, if you believe the protesting worked, I'm going to tell you how it worked only for the betterment of the powers that be. It worked out for them to switch up and start making so-called rights for us, because it helped them get us to go along with whatever they say. It helped us it helped them help us as far as, like, thinking we have the right to protest or the right to vote and stuff like that, when all that was helping them. If we protest their agenda, it helps them. If we vote for them, it helps them, especially their pockets. If they show us that medicines and stuff are good, but they really aren't, and they're lying about stuff and hiding stuff and tying others to the agenda that they have set up, it's not going to benefit us. It hasn't benefited us. Again, all of us had to learn certain things in history that were telling us then it wasn't good, and then it's the same thing now, like the jabs of the Tuskegee experiment. It definitely was not benefiting us, and that's the same jab situation going on now. Whereas after it passed on by, even though the 1970s is when it happened, between the 40s and the 70s, I believe, 50s and the 70s, something like that, that is the last time it happened with a jab that was ineffective and more harming than and hindering than good. And once they get you on their team, they're making millions, programming you through all kinds of ways. Celebrities. You do not need a celebrity to tell you, again, what to do. They don't know your bodies. Just like I can't understand why people that are masked can breathe and I can't. I don't understand why masks have become billboards to who's vaccinated and unvaccinated. I saw that yesterday. I don't understand how we all learned about segregation and integration, and now it's the same thing just a few years later. I don't understand those people that were segregated that wanted to be integrated. I say instigated. Integrated aren't realizing that that's the same thing supposedly that we want now. The unjabbed people. I didn't mean to say that word. The unjabbed people. But do we really want that, or do we really just want peace and people to be able to live their lives? If the rainbow agenda is that they just want peace and to be able to live their lives, don't pressure everybody to be knowing about that. Don't pressure everybody to even join that. Let things flow. All of us melanated people did not want to be integrated either. But we were forced because that was a helpful agenda. Okay, let's get them on our team. Let's get them on this specific political party. Let's get them on this specific drug. Let's get them on this specific addiction. Pisces age energy. A lot of illusions. I'm going to go back and work on my astrology this week, hopefully this evening. But the powers that be are really trying to make it tough out here, when all you got to do is look at your power, your individual power to be. While all the outer planets in retrograde having to do with the collective, remember what retrograde means. lessons, life lessons. And all the individual planets are giving you individual lessons that you must learn as a collective. We all must learn as a collective. Really quick running them through. The lesson with Pluto retrograde, which is the furthest planet out. It rules Scorpio, my sign. And why I'm digging into this Pluto energy heavy. Pluto's life lesson when in retrograde is to transform, to regenerate, to become anew, to rebirth. Pluto is actually one of the most planets that I would say has to do with any retrogrades because it has that prefix re in a lot of its characteristics. Then you look at the sign that the planet is in, that the planet is in that when a planet is in retrograde, you look at the sign it is in, and the sign will tell you the more detailed version of what you need to do with that planet's lesson. So Pluto is in retrograde in Capricorn. Capricorn has to do with government structures, authority, fatherly or masculine figures. Capricorn also has to do with death. Same thing some Scorpio, Pluto characteristics are. Has to do with the devil too. So we're transforming all that. We're changing it up because it needs not be the same way. The next planet that's in retrograde is Neptune. Neptune is in its home in Pisces, the sign of Pisces. Neptune is the planet of illusions. So Pisces and Neptune have the same characteristics because Pisces is ruled by Neptune. So I can put this together and make it shorter. Neptune and Pisces both represent on the one end of the spectrum and the other, the unconscious end of the spectrum and the conscious end of the spectrum. Every sign shows good and bad energies, high and low level energies. Pisces is good on one end and bad on the other. Okay. Pisces is spirituality on one end and illusion, need I say religious on the other, because religion is the opposite of spirituality, opposite thinking. Yes, I'm not saying religion is bad. I am saying religion is bad. I'm saying that the messages are good, but the control and the cult formation that they like to make, like some people like to make spirituality to be, is not good. It's controlling. Spirituality is freeing. You know, when you are conscious, aware, that higher energy level of Neptune and Pisces, you can be more elevating. Pisces is a water sign. Neptune is the water planet. They rule the ocean. That's why we're having a lot of floods and storms. Because Neptune is in its home sign of Pisces, so it's extra intense. And it's in retrograde, so the lessons we are learning from this is that we need to pay attention to some of the illusions and think with our higher mind. It's also formerly ruled by Jupiter, what has to do with the higher mind. And we're going to get to Jupiter last because Jupiter is in retrograde as well. We're almost 9 minutes in, and I'm almost over halfway. Okay, so where was I? Let's go on to Uranus, which is the new planet, the planet that rules Aquarius, but it is in Taurus. It is in its detriment. It is in a sign that does not do well, or it does some unexpected things because it's normally not comfortable. I wouldn't say it doesn't do well. I would say it's not comfortable in Uranus, because Uranus has to do with uniqueness. Uranus has to do with, you know, breaking down structures. It has to do, it rules Aquarius, and there's 2 planets in retrograde in Aquarius that we're going to talk about after Uranus. But Uranus is the planet of uniqueness, the planet of newness, innovativeness, all things Aquarius, weird, different, being an individual that's also a humanitarian in the collective, because Uranus and Aquarius are both collective signs. They have to deal with not individuals, but the whole planet, the whole universe. And Taurus is an individual sign, and it's in a collective planet, and it's in retrograde. So the lesson here with Taurus has to deal with money, food. It has to deal with security, being secure and feeling secure. It has to deal with your five senses and your desires and values. All things Venus. Okay? And the lesson with Uranus and Taurus in retrograde is we have to learn how to be unique in a world full of structure and trying to make us not unique, trying to make us all robots and be conforming and in unison, when unison is good for certain things, but it's not making you unique, you know. So the lesson here is to expect the unexpected, as well as learn to be unique, because if you're not unique, it doesn't benefit you. It benefits others, because you're following along with them instead of following along with your own heart and your own self. I feel like I want to say some more about Uranus, but it is also meaning to be innovative, and Uranus and Taurus also has to do with some of these foods that we eat. Learning how to be unique with how we get foods, growing them, trying new foods, being healthier. The innovative part is learning how to be a barter system, because Taurus likes money. Taurus is the opposite sign of Scorpio. Scorpio is money in the bank. Taurus is money in the pocket. So be more innovative about getting money. Be more innovative about what you eat and how you prepare foods, or even where you buy the foods from. Me and my kids decided yesterday on our homeschooling on the weekend field trip we took to the Amish Dutch market, and we sat there and ate in their restaurant, and they decided then, my children, that they were going to only want me to take them to the market from here on. Farmers markets we have in the city. The farmers come into the city, and then we can go out to their farm. And the good thing about it was some of the Amish people were empathetic and had masks on, and some did not, because they want to stand true to their uniqueness. They don't want to conform to authority figures, especially government. If you've ever been to the Amish, and I'm sorry I'm going a little bit off topic, but not really, because this has to do with Taurus energy and Uranus in the lessons. If you've ever been to the Amish country or any farmer's market, you would notice that they are really separating themselves from the whole rest of the world. Like, they do not conform. They don't have TVs or radios to know what's going on out here. Same thing with the Afghanistan. There's a lot of places in this world that do not have TV or do not conform to their governments because they govern themselves. Don't conform to stores or, corporations or any of those things, because they incorporate their own innovative ideas and their own uniqueness. I would think, I'm going to look up in my rulership book, the Amish represent Uranus, if anything. I wouldn't be surprised if they were the Palladians too, or had some Palladians in there. Now, Saturn in Aquarius is in retrograde. So I did a little bit explaining when I was talking about Uranus, about Aquarius, so I don't want to go too deep, and I'm trying to wrap this up. Saturn, again, is not a civil rights leader. None of them really are. They are really about that agenda I'm talking about, that's conforming melanated people to believe that they did something for us, and they really didn't. They did something for their own pockets. Moving on. Saturn in Aquarius. Saturn is the planet that rules Capricorn, formerly ruled Aquarius. So some similarities there. It formerly ruled Aquarius because Aquarius, I believe, pulled away from Saturn because it's so restricting, and Aquarius likes to be unique and new and innovative, right? And Capricorn likes to stick with the structure and the rules and regulating. Okay, so Saturn in Aquarius is like Aquarius's old home, but I feel like Aquarius, and the lesson here with this retrograde in Saturn, is to learn how to be innovative instead of conforming, and it's switching up Saturn's old ways. It's breaking them down. It's breaking them down, which is why you will see so much going on with the government, because Saturn rules the government just like Capricorn. And Saturn was in Capricorn before it was in Aquarius in 2020, which is why everything hit the government, and the government literally shut down in 2020 and has not opened back up and won't open back up because of the Pluto. Not the retrograde of Pluto, but the Pluto return, which I have already done on an episode on. I'm gonna probably do it over again because it's a little choppy and I wasn't as informative as I am now with it. So I'll do it over again. But the Pluto return that's coming in February of 2022, which is only 4 months away, y'all, basically, because we're at the end, 4.5 months away. We're in pretty much the end of September now, 10 days left. And yeah, this is the main planet that is giving this whole perspective. Saturn in retrograde and Neptune, not even Saturn in retrograde, Saturn period, and Neptune period, being in their Saturn being its former sign of Aquarius, switching up, taking more of its Aquarius ruled energy instead of its Capricorn ruled energy, breaking away from its Capricorn ruled energy, stepping into its innovative. You know, the one thing and one example is how we switched to remote work, because Saturn has to do with how we work and our reputations. So a lot of people's reputations are on the line too in the truth world, if you know what I know, with all the people that are in power and authority. That's switching up too, and their reputations are getting ready to be exposed. I'm almost home, y'all. I'm on 16th Street now, which is where I live off of. Straight up from I took 14th Street up and I moved over. Anyway, it's the biggest lessons coming from Saturn and Aquarius in retrograde. And I encourage you all to look up all these that I'm talking about if you want more information and other perspectives. Okay. And I would look them up individually, like type in Google or type in the YouTube search. You can see a video about it. Saturn in retrograde, Saturn in Aquarius, stuff like that. You'll find millions of videos and lots of information. All right. Lastly, we have Jupiter in retrograde. We would talk about Mercury too, because Mercury is getting ready to go into retrograde, but Mercury is an individual planet. All these planets I'm talking about now have to do with your the collective, all of us, okay? Well, we might be blind to. Oh, here, excuse me. Jupiter and Saturn also are considered inner planets that are heavy dealings with the outer planets. They're the last planets. They move the slowest out of the inner planets. They could be both, individual as well as collective. They deal with both. Okay, because Saturn, being an individual planet in Aquarius, means, again, me as an individual, and I'm going to use myself, have to come up with innovative ways to make money. I have to switch it up. We as the collective all have to do the same thing, because everything is affecting, we all affect each other, especially with this work and structures, right? Lastly, Jupiter. Jupiter is a planet of expansion, It can also be the planet of exaggeration. Jupiter is a planet of positivity and luck. Jupiter is ruler of Sagittarius, former ruler of Pisces. Both have spiritual, religious, and all those kind of beliefs. Okay. It's about philosophy and beliefs, religion, higher learning, higher mind, your beliefs. Also, I'm going to do a bonus after I do Jupiter, because the South Node is in Sagittarius too, and the nodes are always in retrograde, always. They never go direct. Direct meaning they never go forward. They never lighten up, ease up, okay? Because retrograde, again, has to do with lessons. So those nodes are giving you lessons too. So let's get through Jupiter, and then we'll do the nodes. Jupiter in Aquarius as well. And Jupiter and Saturn had the Aquarius conjunction when they both moved into Aquarius last year on 12/21/2020, which was the day everybody thought they were going to get superpowers, and you actually did. You got these superpowers so that you can be a stronger person in this new world that we're entering in because of all these retrogrades now, okay? Especially with Jupiter and Saturn, both being in Aquarius. So we have to expand our innovation with Jupiter and Aquarius. We have to be more mindful, using our higher mind and using our power and staying positive that we can do this, okay? It's knowing that if you do it, the lesson is that if you do it, Jupiter rewards you with luck, abundance, prosperity, those kind of positive things, okay? Jupiter is really positive. Only time I would say Jupiter is not positive is when it's in one of its detriment signs, which I can't remember offhand right now. But Jupiter is definitely giving us the light at the end of the tunnel, okay? Jupiter is definitely giving us the positive motivation that we need to know that we can see once we switch all the things up that I discussed, once we transform with Pluto, once we step into our consciousness, awareness, and spirituality with Neptune and Pisces, that lesson in retrograde, we'll be better off, and we'll see more. That third eye energy. Okay? I don't know if you know about third eye. Look that up. Jupiter will reward us from Uranus, teaching us that Jupiter and Aquarius, you know, Jupiter has the energy of of Uranus right now, because it has its ruling sign. Jupiter has its ruling sign. Uranus is kind of the conductor. Okay? Uranus has to do with the new world, which is what we are stepping into, the age of Aquarius. Also has to do with Jupiter in Aquarius and Saturn in Aquarius. And Uranus being the conductor of all that. I'm going up to my parking lot, y'all, so I guess we'll do the nodes in my parking lot. Jupiter will also reward us with being more secure in our finances and all the things that Uranus and Taurus is teaching us, those lessons. Jupiter rewards us when we separate ourselves and break away from these structures that have been controlling us all our lives, from this government. Okay? Jupiter is the perfect retrograding lesson to get the A+ from, and then the reward of money or good things. Look at Jupiter as that teacher of higher level energy, and once you master what he was teaching, all kinds of blessings come from it. All kinds of blessings, especially with being your own unique person. Remember, Jupiter is also collective and individual. All right, we're in the parking lot. Let's wrap it up. The nodes, again, are always in retrograde. The nodes are controlled by the moon. They switch every 18 months, we are in the Sagittarius and Gemini mode because of the nodes represent the north and south, the opposition of whatever signs they are in. So the north node is our path to destiny and the path that we should be on in life. The south node is the path that we should move away from, our karma, our past experiences, our life lessons that we need to learn to move on. The nodes are in Sagittarius in the south, which is the one we need to move away from, and Gemini in the north. Those are the opposition signs, Sagittarius and Gemini. Sagittarius represents the higher mind, Gemini represents the lower mind. So you might ask, well, why do I need to move away from my higher mind? Because Sagittarius also represents beliefs, old beliefs. Okay, again, the south node has to deal with what we need to move away from. The old things we believed in are not what we need to believe in anymore. Gemini, being the opposition sign of Sagittarius, has to do with communication and information. Mercury ruled, so this Mercury retrograde is going to push all these other retrogrades into perspective.